Police tape surrounds a home in Markham, the scene of a deadly double shooting this morning. Police say it's not the first time the house has been the target of gun violence. Good afternoon. One person and a dog are dead after what police say was a targeted shooting. And police say that home has got a history with police. CTV's Janice Golding is live on the scene with more from police. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. You can take a look behind us here. We're very close to the scene of the crime, a residential home on Solace Road near Castlemore in the town of Markham. Now, we can tell you that police have confirmed that one adult is dead. Another person was shot and seriously injured as well. A German Shepherd dog was also killed. Now, police say intruders entered the home and opened fire on the residents at about 6:30 a.m. Area residents tell us there are about 5 people who live in this home. Police say this is not the first time it has been targeted. In fact, the home has been fired upon 5 times since 2018. 3 times last year alone. Now, police say at least 2 suspects fled the scene in a dark-colored sedan, which they say is an Acura TLX. Police are calling the shooting targeted, but won't say what the motive is at this point. Although neighbors we spoke to who would not appear on camera say they believe the homeowner is connected to the towing industry, with multiple people telling us they've seen tow trucks parked in the front driveway.
We thought all finished, but so surprise is happening. But very sad.
I'm scared, but what are you going to do upset? I'm scared.
This is being investigated as a targeted shooting, and we can confirm that this house has been targeted multiple times in the past. What makes this incident more concerning, though, is that the shooting occurred within the home, whereas previous incidents occurred where shots were fired at the house from a distance.
Now, we did ask police if this was connected to a tow truck turf war. However, they said they could not confirm that, only saying that all avenues are being investigated. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. A man was taken to hospital after a shooting in Etobicoke. Police responded to a condo building on Marine Parade Drive near Lakeshore shortly before 11 o'clock last night. And investigators say a man in his 40s was found suffering from gunshot wounds. Police say his injuries are not considered life-threatening, and they have no suspect information to share at the moment.
And Durham police are investigating a pair of serious crashes that took place this morning. 2 vehicles collided around 8 a.m. near Simcoe and Howden in Oshawa, sending both drivers to hospital with life-threatening injuries. Crews also responded to a crash in Whitby. Now, this crash happened around 8 o'clock as well. Police and paramedics responded to the scene near Lake Ridge Road and Pele Shock Drive for a crash involving a tractor-trailer and another vehicle. Police say one person was transported to a trauma center in life-threatening condition. They also say to expect the road to remain closed for several hours for the investigation. Drivers are advised to consider alternate routes.
We'll have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon, and wow, the rink at Nathan Phillips Square is bustling. It is Friday. The sun is shining, and for a lot of people, March break is in full view. And Jess, you're out and about as well. Tell us where you are.
I'm photosynthesizing right now, Michelle. I'm like a flower trying to bloom. We finally have sunshine and blue sky after a dark couple of days, a little bit of rain, a bit of a mess. But we're down here at the Markham Fairgrounds with an early look ahead at Springfest TO. But I got to get to your forecast because, as you mentioned, we're kicking off March break and it's a little cool outside, a little windy. But hey, I'll take that sunshine as we step in towards the clocks springing forward as we head in towards the weekend. Now, we're looking at a few clouds out there, but overall not too bad. Still a few special weather statements in place along those eastern shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay for some blowing snow. Now, temperature-wise, it's not terrible out there, but that wind is still pretty gusty right now out of the west at about 52 kilometers an hour. It stays gusty right through to that midpoint of our day, and then we get a little bit of a break. Right now, we're holding on to the freezing mark for the most part across the GTA, but it's feeling a little cooler, closer to -7 in the city when you factor in that wind chill. Now, if you are coming down to Springfest TO this weekend, there are indoor and outdoor portions. You can hop on one of these spinny dragons and have the time of your life. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including what you can expect this weekend, and a look ahead at March break. And spoiler alert, it's pretty nice, but I'll send things back inside.
All right, thank you, Jess. U.S. President Donald Trump is speaking in the Oval Office right now. Let's listen in live.
With the exact same tariff, unless they drop it, and that's what reciprocal means. And we may do it as early as today, or we'll wait till Monday or Tuesday. but that's what we're going to do. We're going to charge the same thing. It's not fair. Never has been fair. And they've treated our farmers badly. Look, our country's been ripped off by everybody. That stops now. I had it stopped in my first term, and we're going to really stop it now, because this has been very unfair. Our country, from an economic standpoint, and financial standpoint, and a trade standpoint, has been absolutely ripped off by almost every country in the world. Canada, Mexico, and then you just go right down the line. India charges us massive tariffs, massive. You can't even sell anything into India. It's almost restrictive. It is restrictive. You know, we do very little business inside. They've agreed, by the way, they want to cut their tariffs way down now, because somebody's finally exposing them for what they've done. And same thing with China, same thing with a lot of other countries. And the EU has been a terrible abuser of this country. I mean, the EU was formulated in order to take advantage of the United States, and they have taken it, but they're not taking advantage when I'm in charge. So sometimes you'll hear some negative things. It's always from outside countries. America will be very strong. And, you know, if I'm a foreign country, they're going to do fine. But they can't do like they used to do, because we're going to bring back our business into this country. We need it from a job standpoint. We need it from even just a psychological standpoint. Think of it, 90,000 factories are gone since the beginning of NAFTA. So we're not going to have that, and we're going to see them build it back. Now we've already had 5 major automobile companies. First time you've heard this in a long time, since my first term, actually, where we were really rocking and rolling, and then Biden came in and he stopped everything. Like, such a stupid thing to do, not even a believable thing. But we have many auto plants now coming in. We have big chip plants. We have the biggest chip company in the world, most powerful, probably one of the most powerful companies in the world. Wouldn't you say, Kevin? And he's coming in, and they're building one of the largest chip plants in the world. That'll be done in Arizona, mostly in Arizona. And that'll give us a big percentage. That one plant will give us a big percentage of the chip market, something we have very little of. You know, we used to have Intel, and Intel was run by a man named Andy Grove. And Andy Grove was a tough, smart guy. I used to read about him when I was a young man, and he did an incredible job. He really dominated the chip business. And then he died, and I guess they had a series of people that didn't know what the hell they were doing, and we gradually lost the chip business, and now it's almost exclusively in Taiwan. They stole it from us. They took it from us, and I don't blame them. I give them credit. I blame the people that were sitting in this seat because they allowed it to happen. We could have protected that so easily. But so we had the chip business, and now it's all in Taiwan, almost exclusive, a little bit in South Korea, but mostly in Taiwan. And it's very important. Everything you do, everything you touch is now about chips. The brake of a car, cars have chips all over the place. I was reading an article the other day where they talk about the brakes of a car are loaded up with chips. Who would think that a brake has a chip in it? But it's all about chips. So that was a big thing. And they'll be investing hundreds of billions of dollars in this country, and we'll be taking back a big, big portion of that industry. We have others coming in too. But a lot of car manufacturers are coming in, and they're coming in fast. And one of the reasons you see these numbers, and again, Kevin said it, and I said it a little bit, but the fact that they know I won the election, so after I was president-elect, they assumed that I was going to do what I said, because I do what I say. And so these numbers really reflect a lot of things that took place since November 5th, right? So, Kevin, thank you very much. Great job. Any questions?
Mr. President, how concerned are you that the large-scale federal government layoffs will weaken the labor market? How concerned are you?
The large-scale fentanyl what?
The federal government layoffs will impact the labor market, will weaken the labor market.
Oh. No, I think the labor market's going to be fantastic, but it's going to have high-paying manufacturing jobs as opposed to government jobs. We had too many people in government. You can't just do that. We had many, too many. This is for 40 years. You know, this isn't just now. This built up and got worse and worse, and they just hire more and more people. You look at Department of Education, it seems like so many buildings I ride by, it says Department of Education. They're all over the place. And we don't even want it. We want the education to be given by the states. It'll be much better. It'll move us to the top of the list from the bottom of the list, and actually save us money. But it's too important to even talk about them. It'll save us a lot of money, but we don't want that. We want education to be given. So you go to Iowa and Indiana and Idaho and all these places that are so well run. They're going to be producing education that will be the equivalent of, like Denmark is one, and Norway, Sweden. Actually, China is one of the better in terms of education, and so we can't blame size anymore. You know, China has 1.4 billion people, but they're very high on the list. The one thing we're doing well on, we're number one on the list, is cost per pupil. We spend more money than any other country in the world by far. So I jokingly say the one thing we do well on is the cost. We spend more money, and yet we're toward the bottom of the list. Yeah.
Mr. President, I want to ask you, the joint address, millions of Americans watched your joint address earlier this week, where you warned that there could be a little disturbance that Americans could feel as a function of these taxes, these tariffs. How much disturbance are you willing to accept in the near term as a function of that? And to set expectations, how long should Americans expect things to cost a bit more?
Well, so far, Peter, there hasn't been very much, because these numbers are coming out. We're here for just a little over 4 weeks. And these are fantastic numbers. I was watching some of the reports this morning. They were surprised. There could be some disturbance, a little bit of disturbance. I solved a little bit of that because I have respect for our auto companies, and I gave them a little bit of a 1-month reprieve because it was unfair, although I'm sure they'll take advantage of it. I see they're driving a lot of cars into the U.S. to try and avoid the tariffs, and they're taking advantage of it a little bit. But they called me, they asked me, they said, could they have a little bit of help? And I decided, they're American companies, USMCA, and I let them have that. But this really kicks in, the reciprocals, kicks in on, let's see, I guess the 2nd. And I wanted it to be the 1st so badly. It just didn't want to be on April Fool's Day. So I made it the 2nd. That's going to cost a lot of money. That one day is going to cost a lot of money, but that's okay. But I don't see it. I don't see anything. I see good reports. I think we're going to have good numbers from the beginning. Now, globalists won't love this because this brings jobs back to America. So if they're coming back to America, maybe you'll lose some in other parts of the world. But the other parts of the world have done very well, and they'll continue to do very well. But I think the United States is going to be doing record business. We'll bring a lot of those 90,000 factories that have been lost over the last number of years. It's been, it's hard to believe. 90,000, think of what 90,000 is. 90,000 plants and factories are gone. We're going to bring back many of those plants and factories.
One day the tariffs are on, the next day they're off. Right now the markets, as you know well, prefer stability. Are you done going forward with the pauses and the carve-outs? Is that it for those?
There'll always be changes and adjustments, and you can't just, I could have, for instance, told the American car companies, no, I'm not going to give you anything, and then you wouldn't have had to say, well, they're getting a little extra. It's just a little bit of a 1-month reprieve. They're very happy about what's happening. They won't have to go across borders, and you see the zigzag, and you have a fender made in Canada, you have something else made in Mexico. We don't want that. We want it made here. But there'll always be some modifications.
All right, we're listening to U.S. President Donald Trump at the Oval Office. He's actually hosting a crypto summit, but he's also answering questions. He did threaten new sanctions against Russia because of Moscow's bombardment of Ukraine. That was a little bit earlier. But as for the tariffs, he says, again, the U.S. has been ripped off by Canada and Mexico. He did pause tariffs till April 2nd on goods covered by the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. But he says that that delay will end April 2nd. As for the impact on the labor market, he says, again, there could be some disturbance, but overall, this will be good for the U.S., and they will do record business. Of course, we will follow what he has to say there and also get reaction to U.S. President Donald Trump speaking once again at the Oval Office. Well, to other news now, Premier Doug Ford is holding firm on electricity surcharge to 3 U.S. states.
Ford spoke today in Mississauga, reaffirming the Monday deadline. Let's get to CTV's Mike Walker, who has who's live with more. And certainly, we just heard Donald Trump there. What he said, definitely not going to do anything to ease the concerns. Definitely more uncertainty ahead, and really big questions about where all this is going. The Premier of Ontario has a big task at hand.
That's right, Michelle. Nathan, and Ontario Premier Doug Ford reiterated this morning that Ontario will not back down from its retaliatory measures until the Trump administration drops all tariffs, which at this point doesn't seem to be the case. Doug Ford also spoke out against the 1-month pause on Canadian goods, some Canadian goods under the current trade agreement, saying that it will only create uncertainty for the economy. Now, during the speech to the Mississauga business community, Ford outlined some of the retaliatory measures Ontario is taking, including keeping American booze off the LCBO shelves, barring U.S. companies from government contracts, and as you mentioned, the 25% surcharge on electricity that is shipped to Michigan, Minnesota, and New York that the Premier insists will go ahead on Monday until all tariffs are removed. Now, here's more from Ford on that surcharge, as well as his reaction to the 1-month pause on some Canadian goods.
We power 1.5 million homes and businesses south of the border, and we won't hesitate to go further, including shutting off their power completely if President Trump continues down this path. And all he's creating that is certain is uncertainty. And when the market speaks, I always believe the market dictates everything. When the market speaks and it drops close to $3 trillion, with a T, $3 trillion, you know, that is staggering. Those are people's pension funds. These are some Ontario pension funds that invested, and the market's gone down.
Now, the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, has stated that the electricity surcharge will especially hurt industries in the northeast part of his state and reduce competitiveness with other less impacted regions. Now, the Premier did not take any questions from reporters at this morning's event here in Mississauga, but is expected to provide more details about this surcharge on Monday. Reporting live in Mississauga, Mike Walker. Back to you.
Thank you, Mike. A troubling trend of gun violence involving the tow truck industry is gaining momentum.
Police are investigating a 4th shooting that happened last night in Etobicoke. CTV's Allison Hurst has been following a series of shootings. Allison, you've been covering a shooting a day for the past several days.
It certainly seems that way. There have been 4 instances of gun violence within 24 hours of each other all throughout the city. And so far, police have yet to say whether any of them are connected. But here's what we do know. So last night, police could be seen looking around the rig of this tow truck. And this is the 2nd night in a row police have been in this area for gun violence involving tow trucks. It happened last night, shortly after 10 p.m. Police say there were no injuries, and the suspect, a man in his 20s wearing all black, fled in a vehicle. That was last night. The night before, on Wednesday night, police were here as well. Evidence of shots fired, also no injuries, and suspects fled in a vehicle. On Tuesday night, there were 2 shootings in another part of the city, also involving the towing industry. One at Weston Road in St. Clair, where a man in his 50s was taken to hospital in life-threatening condition, and a man in his 20s was also hit but expected to survive. An hour later in Scarborough, there was a tow truck-related shooting at a gas station. The driver in his 20s was taken to hospital in non-life-threatening condition. Toronto police say the industry is by and large safe and that this violence involves a small fraction.
Projects that are underway, and you will know, I think last month we reported a series of arrests with respect to tow truck shootings, and these that the last 4 that happened in the last couple of days are on our radar. We are looking into it. We have dedicated resources to this issue, and I want to assure the Toronto community that we are doing all that we can and will continue to do that.
The investigation into this latest shooting and all of them is ongoing by Toronto Police. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Back to you in studio.
The city of Brampton unveiled a new initiative today that will see cameras installed at intersections to help curb crime.
It's the latest effort to help improve community safety. CTV's Sean Leithong is live at City Hall with more. Sean.
Well, Nathan and Michelle, Mayor Patrick Brown saying it's a first of its kind in Canada. They will have an eye in the sky over 50 intersections throughout the city. The reason they say public safety. Cameras sitting atop 50 intersections in Brampton have Mayor Patrick Brown stating a clear goal for the city.
We want to make Brampton the worst place in the country to commit a crime. We want it to be known that if you commit a crime in Brampton, you are going to be caught and prosecuted.
announcing today an $11 million investment that will make the city the first in Canada to use 360-degree cameras and license plate recognition in intersections, all in an effort to curb crime.
The location of these cameras will remain confidential. Just know that if you are committing a crime in Brampton, that you're likely going to get caught.
Mayor Brown saying similar technology already exists in U.S. cities like Detroit and New Orleans, and they'll complement license plate recognition in Peel police vehicles.
This is a game changer as it relates to crime in the public setting.
But Peel police are saying that the cameras cannot be used to target particular individuals.
The technology does not include a facial recognition portion where the cameras will detect faces against any type of database that belongs to police. It's completely out of scope for this.
Police are also quick to point out that these cameras will not issue tickets like automated speed cameras in Toronto. They're specifically designed to help police track vehicles implicated in crimes. There are already cameras in use in the city, but all 50 will not be operational until the end of the year. So Mayor Patrick Brown gave a brief discussion or description of how these cameras will work. He talked about how in a lot of crimes that they will use security cameras from businesses like the ones beside me here to piecemeal the way a criminal may exit a crime scene. He says these cameras will help paint a clearer picture, evidence that can be used in court and eventual prosecution. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Michelle, Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. The clock is ticking closer to possible job action, with the union threatening to walk off the job Monday.
If a deal isn't reached, city-run daycares would close and March break programming will be canceled. CTV's Natalie Johnson has the latest.
With just over a day to go until QP Local 79 can legally strike
5, 6, 7, 8.
or get locked out by the city.
I feel positive about what we can accomplish at the bargaining table.
Some of the city's 27,000 inside workers rallied to make it clear that without a deal,
we are going to walk.
The union has said it would not strike until 12:01 a.m. Monday, the day March break camps start. If the rec workers who run them walk off the job, the parents of the nearly 5,000 kids signed up for those camps would be left in the lurch for childcare.
The city's been dragging their heels for months and months and months. We've been ready to make a good deal.
The two sides have been at the table since December. A city spokesperson reiterating to CTV News, quote, the city has tabled its final offer to the union.
That offer includes a 14.65% increase over 4 years, the same dollar figure that was offered to and accepted by the city's outdoor workers.
We're offering well above inflation now to help them regain some purchasing power. So there's the very fair base deal that we've already settled with the outside workers, and we have to have parity there.
The city has also offered higher wage hikes for EMS dispatchers, nurses, PSWs, and childcare aides, and promised that part-time rec staff are paid above minimum wage.
It isn't just about numbers, it's about the dignity and respect of every worker.
Hey, Mayor Chow, you're no good!
As the clock ticks down toward the deadline,
Corporate greed has got to go!
These workers say if they don't settle, they'll strike.
Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
Meanwhile, there's growing talk of a potential strike at the Toronto Public Library. QP 4948 represents 2,300 workers at the library. The union says over 96% of members have voted in support of job action, if necessary, as they push for a new contract. The previous contract expired at the end of 2024. The union is calling for improved wages, benefits, and working conditions. The Toronto Public Library says negotiations are ongoing.
The Supreme Court of Canada has struck down part of an Ontario law to do with third-party election advertising. Before 2021, third-party groups in Ontario could spend up to $600,000 on advertising in the 6 months before a provincial election call. That year, the Ford government stretched the restricted spending period to 1 year. The province argued the extension was necessary to protect elections from outside influence, but critics said it amounted to the government trying to silence criticism. The matter made its way to the country's top court, which ruled by a 5-4 margin today the law disproportionately violated the constitutional right to vote.
Pierre Poilievre's in Toronto, where he had a direct message this morning for Donald Trump.
Knock it off. Stop the chaos. You are hurting your workers, your consumers, and most immediately, destroying trillions of dollars of wealth on your own stock market. You're attacking a cherished friend of the United States, and you are strengthening America's enemies by going after America's friends. Stop tariffing our country and stop the monthly melodrama that is hurting our economies on both sides of the border.
The Conservative leader says we need to keep all the counter tariffs in place until the U.S. removes forever its duties on Canadians. Poilievre also said he would amend the Conflict of Interest Act if elected prime minister to close what he called the Carney loophole. The change would ensure all party leader candidates have to disclose financial holdings to the Ethics Commissioner within 30 days of becoming an official candidate and make them available to Canadians within 60 days.
Voting is underway as party members choose who they want to be the next Liberal leader and, in turn, Canada's next Prime Minister. Mark Carney is one of the perceived frontrunners to win Sunday's Liberal leadership race. Chrystia Freeland, Karina Gould and Frank Baylis are also on the ballot to replace Justin Trudeau. A federal election campaign is widely expected shortly after the Liberals make their choice this weekend.
And Donald Trump says he is strongly considering sanctions and tariffs against Russia. The U.S. president says the penalties would be imposed until a ceasefire and peace agreement is reached with Ukraine. The sanctions would include large-scale ones on banking. Trump has also paused military aid and intelligence sharing to Ukraine to pressure Kyiv to accept a truce deal. Trump also sent a letter to Iran's leaders seeking to negotiate a nuclear deal.
The pontiff is still stable and resuming his therapies in a hospital in Rome. The Vatican says Pope Francis had a good night's rest and is continuing respiratory and physical therapy. It includes high flows of supplemental oxygen to help him breathe. Doctors say they didn't expect to give another medical update until Saturday, given his continued stability. Yesterday, the Pope released an audio message thanking people for their prayers. The pontiff now has been in hospital for 3 weeks. Jess.
Well, we moved inside at Springfest TO. Lots of fun rides, and whether you're spending your time inside or outside this weekend, it's going to be pretty nice. Now, this afternoon, it is a little cool out there still, but we are warming up as we make our way in towards the weekend. This afternoon, a daytime high of +1, feeling like -5. Those winds still a little wicked, but they do get better. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast as we step in towards March break.
NHL teams have 3 hours now to make deals before today's 3 p.m. trade deadline.
Toronto Maple Leafs fans are anxiously waiting, of course, to see if their team will make a move, but some other clubs have already been active. One of the big names on the move so far is Brock Nelson. The New York Islanders forward and William Dufour have been traded to Colorado for Callum Ritchie, Oliver Kylington, and some draft picks. There are still a number of possible deals before 3 o'clock, but probably the biggest question out there right now, I'm told, is the future of Mikko Rantanen. So for more on this, we're joined by TSN Bardown's Eric Kirk. We've mentioned a few of the moves so far. Let's talk about the big names you're really looking for today.
So the biggest one, you nailed it, it's Mikko Rantanen. He just got dealt earlier this season from Colorado to Carolina, strictly because he wouldn't sign a contract extension in Colorado. He had a number that he wanted. Colorado wasn't willing to get there, so they shipped him out. Same problems going on with Carolina right now, so they're looking to move him as well. But other teams aren't willing to jump into this pool. They're like, we're not going to trade for him unless he agrees to a contract extension. So we have the framework of a trade with the Dallas Stars right now, but no contract extension. So again, we're just kind of in a stalemate, waiting for someone to get to this number that Mikko Rantanen is sitting on.
Wow. Who are some of the other big name players you're keeping an eye on today?
Today, Brad Marchand's at the top of the list. Will the Bruins move him? I'm not really sure. They're kind of right on the bubble. So it does seem like a Bruins move to kind of keep themselves always relevant. Are they okay moving on from their captain? Who knows? And then you look at a team like the Leafs. As always, do they need that center depth to really match up with Tampa and Florida? Do they go and get a player like Braden Shen? That's who I'd like to see. Do they have the cap space? Who knows?
Do you think the Leafs will do something today? And how much can a move on a day like today make a difference?
I certainly hope so. Like, a lot of years past, Leafs fans have hated going out and getting rentals because they're not going to be on the team next year. But this is their best chance to win this year. Next year, Tavares comes off the books. Marner is going to be looking for a new contract. You got to go all in right now. And we just saw Florida go out and get Seth Jones. And then we just saw Tampa go out and make a huge splash down the middle for Yanni Gourde. So the Leafs got to play keep up here. And I think making a move for Braden Shenner, someone along those lines, is probably necessary.
When you look at the top teams, do you expect a lot of activity, or do you think things are going to be kind of chill for the next 3 hours?
I think we saw a lot of movement the past couple weeks in the top teams. I think the Leafs are kind of the lone soldier up at the top of the standings that haven't made a move. You had the Avs get Brock Nelson. You had the Lightning get Yanni Gourde, and like I said, with the Panthers getting Seth Jones. So we're just really waiting on the Leafs at the top. Other than that, it's kind of a little bit of movement here and there.
Before we let you go, TSN, we share headquarters, right? So there's a lot of action over there. You can feel the buzz in the room. What's this day like for you?
It's crazy because it's a lot of like hurry up and wait. Like you have this anticipation, but there's nothing we can really do until the NHL teams do it themselves. So it's exciting, but we're just waiting for the news to come.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. TSN Bar Down's Eric Kirk, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
See what happens.
Have fun.
Right, to other sports news, the Toronto Scepters were on the ice last night hosting the league-leading Montreal Victoire.
They were kept off the board. In front, they score! Just like that!
Scepters star Natalie Spooner got on the board early with her first goal of the year, and she would add another one as the Scepters went on to win 4-1. Spooner missed most of the season so far due to injury. The Scepters are back on the ice Sunday to take on the Minnesota Frost.
The Raptors are looking for their third straight win tonight when they take on the Utah Jazz. Toronto coming off a dramatic 114-113 victory over the Magic on Tuesday. Rookie Jacoby Walter hit a three-pointer with half a second left in the fourth quarter to give the Raptors their second consecutive win against Orlando. Tonight's contest gets underway at around 7:30 at Scotiabank Arena.
All right, let's talk about the weather forecast. And what is nice is the sunshine that we're getting already, and it seems like March break's going to be pretty good overall.
Well, not everybody goes away somewhere hot on March break. Some people stay here in Ontario, and just when you see sunshine on the board and you see some really nice double-digit temperatures, it just makes it that more exciting.
It makes it so exciting, and it makes you want to spend some time outside, get out and enjoy everything we can do here at home, and that includes Springfest TO. Before we get to your forecast, I want to talk about Springfest TO. We have Marco Giordaro joining us, the CEO, the owner-operator of this super fun festival. Talk to me about what people can expect this year, because we got inside portions, we got outside portions.
Thank you so much for coming first. Yeah, we're really, really excited this year. We're actually in our 22nd year, if you can believe that. We think this year is actually going to be the best. Entrance into Springfest TO provides you play all day rides, inflatables, games. We even have animatronic dinosaurs exhibit. And new this year, we have 2 shows due to the International Clown. Maybe you've seen him in Billy Madison. He's the same clown. He's awesome. His energy is incredible. And also this year is Mad Science. They're going to be doing educational tutorials with the kids and really provide something unique that we've never had before. And we really think that the science-based, fun learning program is going to really make parents very happy, and it's something very unique. On top of that, we also have buskers that walk around and provide endless entertainment, flame throwing, you name it. So there really is something for all ages. It's a March break event, 9 days starting tomorrow, the 8th to the 16th. And entrance, like I said, includes everything.
Listen, you had me at science. Yes, it is March break, but we're still learning a little bit. When does everything kick off? Because I know we're getting a bit of a sneak peek today.
So everything's going to kick off tomorrow. Yep, tomorrow morning is when we open, and it's going to run right through every single day to the 16th, which is next Sunday. And we're open 10 to 6 p.m. And tickets are online. Visit springfestto.ca.
Well, thank you so much. So much fun stuff to do this weekend, and the weather's going to be pretty agreeable for all the folks wanting to get out and enjoy Springfest TO. And I can promise next week we're looking at some double-digit temps, so you're welcome in advance.
Fingers crossed.
For all the people that are going to be coming down. We're going to get to your forecast. We're going to switch things up a little bit, and it has been really sunny, a little cool and a little windy, but overall not too bad, all things considered. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Yes, it is a windy start to our Friday, but the sunshine is beautiful nonetheless. And as we really make our way into the next couple of days, it only gets better. We're at +1 right now here in the city. It feels like -6, but still pretty chilly for our friends up in northern Ontario. As we head throughout the rest of our day, the winds will dissipate a little bit right now. Still pretty gusty out of the west at about 54 kilometers an hour. As we make our way in towards the afternoon, we'll sit around +1 and it'll feel like we should be around 3, but we still have a bit of a wind to contend with. As we head in towards this evening, things get a little bit fresh out there, but overall it's not too far off that seasonal mark. At -6, feeling like -14, the chance of maybe a light lake effect flurry, but for the most part it stays pretty west of the city. Now we're still dealing with some active weather along those eastern shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay, thanks to some windy conditions causing some blowing snow, so it's still prompting some winter weather travel advisories in those areas. But as we head throughout the rest of our day today, we step into our weekend. It only gets nicer, friends. I have great news. There's sunshine that's sticking around as we head in towards the next couple of days. We'll go through our forecast radar pretty quickly here, but again, lots of sunshine as we head throughout the rest of our day today. As we head into our Saturday, we're holding on a little below seasonal, but still comfortable. And as we look ahead to the beginning of next week, the beginning of March break, we're getting up to about 10 degrees and we have some sunshine out there, and we're holding on to this really beautiful forecast. Now, as we spring those clocks forward, it stays a little bit cooler, but overall it is quite comfortable, and that looks like a 10 out of 10 March break forecast, if I do say so myself. Now, we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to go to the Princess Margaret Dream of a Brighter Tomorrow with the Princess Margaret Home Lottery. The $1.6 million bonus prize deadline is midnight tonight. The bonus prizes include a breathtaking downtown Toronto condo with views of the harbourfront plus $50,000 cash, featuring over 17,000 aspirational prizes valued at more than $17 million. Imagine winning a stunning $9 million grand prize that includes an Oakville show home, the biggest grand prize ever designed by Brian Gluckstein, plus $500,000 cash, plus a gorgeous $2.6 million grand prize with a show home in Georgian Bay and $50,000 cash. Plus, you can win big cash prizes with the 50/50 cash calendar and the Wanderlust add-ons. You can visit places you've always dreamed of. All add-ons are only $25 each. Every ticket helps give life every ticket gives you the chance to win life-changing prizes and helps fund life-saving cancer research at the Princess Margaret. Get your tickets at princessmargaretlotto.com or by calling 1-866-631-1234. And don't forget, you can come on down to Springfest TO here at the Markham Fairgrounds and enjoy a bouncy house. You can get your snacks. You can watch shows all about science and fun. For now, I'm going to send things back inside to the studio.
Yes. Coming up, a breakthrough in a type of gene therapy that can treat and possibly prevent ALS in some patients. The promising results of a new clinical trial coming up after the break.
A new drug just approved by Health Canada is showing remarkable results with a subgroup of patients with ALS.
As CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, it's only a small number, but the implications are huge.
Paula Trefiak was just 34 and newly diagnosed with ALS when she was enrolled in a clinical trial for a new drug, tofersen or Qalsody, in 2016.
I was on the lowest dose of 20 milligrams, so I still felt like I was deteriorating during that clinical trial.
But fortunately, she was early in her disease progression and was soon able to take a higher dose.
The drug is administered into the cerebrospinal fluid through a spinal tap, and the drug has shown to significantly reduce a toxic protein called SOD1, occurring in 2% of ALS patients.
Those 2% are a subgroup of the ALS patients who have a genetic cause for their illness. 90% of patients with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis are sporadic cases.
This drug has been in development for about 10 years, and Sunnybrook, along with other Canadian centres, have been part of an international collaboration to determine if gene therapy can work for patients with SOD1 ALS.
For SOD1 patients, the improvements can be astounding.
I wasn't getting the muscle cramping that I used to. And then I also felt stronger. Like I could go up on my toes and my heels weren't crashing down anymore. I had a lot of lip droop and I was slurring my speech quite a bit. That's gone.
And the implications for those carrying the gene but not yet showing symptoms is also huge. A study is currently underway to see if giving Qalsody might help.
That study is called ATLAS, and it's underway to prove if this gene therapy will prevent the ALS from ever even coming up in these patients.
Canadians who know they have the SOD1 mutation should go to their local ALS center to find out more about participating in the ATLAS study. Meanwhile, coverage for the drug is still being worked out.
Definitely fewer than 2 years is what we hope for, but we do know that there are therapies that have been approved by Health Canada that never were able to get through that pathway after 10 years. And that is definitely what we don't want to see for our community.
The number of patients is small, only a few dozen in Canada, but it is a costly medication given once a month. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
As health officials battle a measles outbreak in this province, Peel Public Health is investigating a case linked to international travel. Officials say members of the public may have been exposed on February 24th on an Air Canada flight 57 from Dubai to Toronto, and then at Pearson Terminal 1 from around 8:30 a.m. to noon. They also issued a warning about 2 locations in Mississauga on February 27th, the Abood Health Walk-in Clinic and Pharmacy and the emergency room at Trillium Health Partners Credit Valley Hospital. Health experts say measles is highly contagious and anyone potentially exposed should watch for symptoms. They also advise residents to get up to date on their vaccinations.
Public Health Ontario released its latest surveillance report on respiratory virus season. It looked at the week of February 23rd to March 1st. During that time, a combined 1,001 patients were in hospital for the flu, COVID-19, and RSV infections. Flu patients made up the largest group by far, as lab testing showed that virus continuing to spread at a high rate across the province. Positivity rates for COVID and RSV remain low. And Toronto Public Health is warning approximately 2,500 patients of a local gynecology office that they may have been exposed to a blood-borne infection. Officials say medical instruments at the clinic near Bloor and Dundas may not have been cleaned properly, posing a potential infection risk. For full details on this story and what affected individuals are advised to do, head to our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
There was almost no movement in the country's labor market last month. Stats Canada says only around 1,100 jobs were added last month, well below the 76,000 added in January. Economists had predicted an increase of closer to 20,000 jobs. The small increase was enough to keep the unemployment rate steady at 6.6% as Canada's population grew at its slowest monthly pace since April 2022. The agency also noted the top-line number came from a loss of 19,700 full-time roles nationwide and a gain of 20,800 part-time jobs.
In Ottawa, the federal government has announced a $5 billion program to help Canadian exporters reach new markets. It's part of a series of measures to support businesses and workers in response to the U.S. tariffs.
The program allows employers to keep workers on their payroll in their jobs without resorting to layoffs. It does this by temporarily reducing employee working hours during slower periods so that workers can stay on the books until normalcy returns, at which point they would return to work full-time.
The government says the temporary measures will help provide stability and certainty. They take effect today. There will also be $1 billion in new financing available through Farm Credit Canada to help farmers and agricultural businesses address cash flow problems. Now, there are some significant subway closures scheduled for this weekend to allow for track work. The TTC says there will be no service on a major stretch of Line 1, both Saturday and Sunday. Trains won't run between St. George and St. Andrew stations, and shuttle buses won't operate either because of construction. Transit officials advise taking the other side of Line 1 into the downtown core and then connecting to surface routes. Line 2 trains will be replaced by buses all weekend between Woodbine and Kennedy. And if you're planning to take GO Transit this weekend, there are changes to service on the Lakeshore West line. Starting at 11 tonight and through Saturday and Sunday, trains will only run between Union Station and Oakville. Separated Niagara train service will run between Aldershot GO and Niagara Falls GO. Replacement buses are available but won't stop at Appleby or Bronte.
Coming up, it's almost time for an annual tradition. Daylight savings starts this weekend. More on the Spring Forward after the break. An important reminder as we head into the weekend. The clocks are springing forward by an hour. We'll return to daylight saving time just after 1:59 a.m. Sunday, which will be followed by 3 o'clock. Now, for many people, the switch ends up meaning they get less sleep. Experts warn the change can also impact mental health and cognitive performance. Ontario passed a law several years back to scrap the twice-annual clock switch, but only if Quebec and New York follow suit. Well, the Toronto Maple Leafs are acquiring forward Scott Lawton from the Philadelphia Flyers. This is according to TSN hockey insider Chris Johnson. Of course, we're going to be following this deadline day until 3 o'clock, and we'll give you a full update on our newscast at 6 tonight.
We're also following the forecast, and it truly looks glorious. For March, bright sunshine, a lot to look forward to, Jess.
It really is, and I know the time change can be a little bit of a challenge, but hopefully something that helps is the sunshine that we get this weekend and temperatures a little closer to that seasonal mark. We're holding on to that sunshine today as well. A few light clouds out there, but overall it stays quite nice. So whether you're coming down to Springfest TO or whether you're going away, it is a beautiful weekend. Temperature-wise, it is still a little cool out there, a little windy. We're at +1, feeling like -6. And as we make our way in towards the weekend, at least for tomorrow, still the sunshine, it holds on, and so does the wind. So hold on to your hats. Now, as we make our way in towards next week, we're well above seasonal to get things started. So hopefully, as we settle into what is going to be a beautiful spring season, the temperatures are going to help boost your mood. I'll send things back to the studio.
Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.